So here in this video, I'm going to be breaking down 4 trading pairs that you can trade as a scalper to grow any account size, whether if you're looking at $100, $1,000, or even $10,000 and more. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the very first pair. So the very first pair is going to be S&P 500. By far, this is one of my personal preference. Reason being is it works very well when it comes to structure and things about the strategies that I teach a lot in my YouTube channel, which you guys should subscribe if you haven't already, is that this is one of the pairs that I use to grow a lot of my accounts from $1,000 to 5,000 and so forth. The beauty about this is, for me, when I talk about Elliott wave, 5-wave cycle, or get into whack off, or even get into my Fibonacci play as well as my 3-man standing strategy, this is pretty much where I'm demonstrating a lot of this, because structure for whatever reason is very precise when it comes to S&P 500. Now, another thing about S&P 500, and the reason why I like trading S&P 500, is because it's very trendy. I'm not for any consolidations. This is why I don't like to get into too much actual currency pairs, but something like this, which is an indice pair, I prefer because the trend is at best. Even when it consolidates, you can catch a lot of great moves on a lower scale, and that's what makes this pair beautiful for a scalper. So if we're looking at this right now, you pretty much see my main focus on this is simply a 1 hour, a 15-minute, a 5-minute, and sometimes a 2-minute, and sometimes the 1 minute. And even the 4 hour, I'm essentially looking at the overall structure. My first question I'm asking myself is, where is the demand or where is the supply at? Because the key factor here is you want to understand where that supply chain had ended to create the demand and so forth. So as we see on the 4 hour scale, we obviously, it's a downtrend at this given moment. We do see that we have a lot of supply that has been fulfilled all around this area right here. And also, believe it or not, we do have some type of structural strategy going on right here, whether if this could be an order block seen as that or some type of confusion in the market. But regardless, we do have something going on here, because if we scale on a 1 hour time frame and even a 15-minute time frame, we can essentially see how aggressive these moves were going to the downside. So this also could be a sense of supply as well. So considering that we know that there's supply within here, all I usually like to do is wait for the supply chain to break through. If I notice that supply chain had broke through, then essentially what's happening next is market could possibly come back and test this area as demand to hit up to some of these areas here. And that's the nice thing about S&P 500. So let's go ahead and talk about the next one. So the next one, believe it or not, is going to be gold. The reason why I say gold is top 4 is because simply it does consolidate, and when it consolidates very well. The structure of consolidation is very formed here in a way where you can still use like the Fibonacci to pick and choose when to enter and when to take profits. Another nice thing about gold is when it trends, it's ready to trend. So if we're looking here on a 1 hour scale, I'm just going to show you how big the Fibonacci play could be. So let's say you are looking to use the 1 hour scale to figure out the structure, to figure out where it could pull back to. But essentially, if we're looking at some of these levels here and some of these ranges here, I always say in a lot of my videos, any POI levels, any supply demand, any order blocks, or any structure levels you're looking for, always look above that 50% mark. Anything above or below 50% mark is kind of like your balance, right? Equilibrium balance. So you always want to try to look for these levels above or even below, depending on if you're selling or buying, to kind of get your analysis. So obviously, as you see here, market had went above this 50%. If you notice right here, we had some type of POI right in this area here. So if you guys notice here, you see TP1 and this is my TP2 mark. So these marks are basically my potential new lows, and this is what I like to call my P&L. Usually 99% of the time, if it hits this mark, it's a potential new low. Doesn't mean it's going to reverse, but it's going to create that new low. That's kind of how I take my TP. So if you guys pay close attention and you notice that move had played beautifully here, this is like a textbook. Now let's look at this range here to here, because once again, the reason why this is a range is simply because we broke out of this high to create this and determine that this is our new low. We broke this low to determine this is our high from this range. So we're just going to draw a Fibonacci from the bottom to the top. And as you see, once again, it went below this 50% mark. And as you see right here, this is a perfect, if you want to guys call this a demand chain, this is definitely that for sure. But market basically cleared the double bottom and then it went up aggressively. And as you see, it had hit TP1 roughly and it created a potential new high. And it also had hit TP2, but it just went right past that and it went to my red zone line. Now this red zone line is essentially when market had created some sort of news event. This is pretty much the max that it will go to. The This is also a Fibonacci play as well that I noticed in the markets, but usually this is the red mark and then from there it's over with. So as you clearly see, that's exactly what market did. It went there and then it pretty much created that. We have another range. I'll show you guys another one, but as you see here, we have the high, and then as you see here, we also have our low and it broke through. So we basically have a range from this high to this low. If I draw a Fibonacci, you would see that it either hit the TP1 or TP2 mark. So essentially, this is why I love using gold, because regardless if it's consolidated or trending, you will always catch a play. Let's go ahead and get into number 3. So number 3 is actually going to be oil, as this used to be one of my top pairs because the simple fact it reacts the same way as gold, but a little bit slower. So what I mean by this is if I'm trying to react to the market and I still feel a little confused, I still have time to predict to rather get in this move or not. And that's the reason why I trade oil. So I'm not gonna get too much into oil because I feel like oil is also the exact same way that I trade my 3-man standing strategy, also the same similar way that I would trade gold, and same time frames, nothing changes as well. Now, if you guys are ever interested in tapping into our Discord community and our bootcamp that we're now offering, make sure you check that link down below so you can exclusively get into that as well. Let's get into the very last one, which is going to be a tricky one to a lot of you guys, but it's going to be NASDAQ. Now, there's one specific reason why I love NASDAQ. NASDAQ does not move like gold. It does not move like oil, and essentially it doesn't really necessarily move like S&P. NASDAQ is a tricky one because you have to trade it differently than the others. And what I'm getting at is the reason why I love NASDAQ is because when it's trending, you're almost guaranteeing to 20x your account if you catch it at the right play. If you clearly see here, all of this is the trend. Notice that the pullbacks aren't even a pullback when it comes to NASDAQ. This is why I love NASDAQ, because if you can catch it at the right time, then you can hold this trade for essentially a long time. Or if you're like me, you get in, get out, you can get in, get out again, get in, get out again, and you can catch a lot of these plays from the 5-minute to the 2-minute, a lot of these small little increments of consolidation. So this is kind of why I say NASDAQ is definitely top 4 pick, because of the simple fact you can catch a lot of it. So that being said, hope you guys love this video. If you guys want more like this, subscribe to my channel. And other than that, I'll see you guys in my next video. Your boy Solo, peace.